That's right. It's time for another therapy session with Dr. Moo. Lie down on the couch and bare your psyche to the North Modular. God, I say the word North Modular a lot. I could just call it the little red box because that's what it is. Sure is pretty though. Sure is the best money I ever spent on a synth. I got more out of this than I got out of anything probably. What did I pay for it? $600 or $700 US dollars. That was in 2000 and pretty sure it was 2003 because I ordered it from a shop in New York City when I was living in Japan, and then New York City had like a massive blackout that lasted like 7 or 8 days. It was in Ontario in Canada too, and of course it delayed my shipping, and I was like, that's perfect. I order it. The one thing I order online, and there's a nationwide blackout. That's just great. Anyway, this is another one from our earlier series, number 5, Nintendo Scape. Okay, quiet down there, buddy. I'm trying to talk. More weird sounds from the Nord, from the little red box. So today, I know what I want to do, and I do what I want to know. Today we're going to do some stuff with switches. I say switches, and I started this stream on this concept, and 5 minutes in I ran out of hard disk space and I had to stop. But I was already halfway to a usable patch at that point. I don't want to go back and recycle it. I just want to make something new today. So let's just be aware of the fact that I cheated. I can admit that. I'm a cheating cheater. And I had this at least semi-prepared in advance. The good thing is that was 2 days ago, and I've forgotten half of it since then. So that's awesome. So I'm setting up a voice here without a huge amount of effort going into it. It's what we've seen before. We're not at the interesting part yet of today's special. Trigger it with a event seek. You know what? Maybe I should, just for a change. Isn't there a, yeah. I rarely use this module. I mean, I use it, but not as much as I could. So instead of having this pattern here, I'm just going to ping the envelope with the random pulse gen. But the difference between this guy and this guy is that when he's on, he stays on. Whereas the other guy, or you know what, to really illustrate that, what I need is a envelope with more stages. Let's try this one. What I mean is he actually like sustains. There's a sustain level here. And the random pulse gen will stay green, as you can see when it's on. You'll see it in a second. And that means the gate will stay, the envelope will stay open. See what I mean? He's holding the key, he's not just pinging it. So, bit of a hard cutoff there. There we go. Okay, so this is our little note machine. Let's look here. I chose the Foreman oscillator just because I wanted to. Let's do this too. Let's send an LFO to the timbre of the Foreman oscillator. Whoa, it's a bit harsh, dude. It's almost noisy at some points. It's not really how I wanted it to sound. Try opening this up. Slightly less horrible. Let's try it again. There we go. You can have that too. Okay, so we've got our little random note playing here. Talking about switches. Let's look at what we got here. We've seen these guys, the mixers. Gain controller we don't need today. Crossfade with modulator. I'll take one, please. Back to the same thing. We also got 1 into 2 out fader and 2 into 1 out fader. I will also take one of those. They sure look similar, don't they? I guess this one has the modulator and this one doesn't, but they both seem to be 2 inputs that have 1 output and a knob that lets you decide the amount. I ain't worrying about the resources, so I'll just keep doing this. Then we have the on-off switch, which I believe I've already rejected as unsuitable for my needs. And we got the 4 to 1 switch. Okay, so at some point today, the goal here is to use one of these 4 to choose between 2 sets of CV, which will then be sent to the input of the formant oscillator. So let's set those CVs up now. One is going to be note sequencer B. His clock will be the random pulse clock, which means every time he plays a note, it will advance a step. See, there he goes to step 2. I'm going to set him to random, but I'm also going to quantize his output. So what does quantize mean? Quantize means force a CV signal to conform to, it doesn't have to be the Western musical scale, but it usually is. So as you can see here, there's like a little piano keyboard. These are the white keys that I press down, and I'm leaving the black keys not pressed down. The range tells you how many octaves. I got 2 octaves here. So if I just send, let's hear what would happen if I send the output of the sequencer to the pitch in. Every time he plays a new note, the sequencer advances 1 step, so. I hope you can see that little green light there. Okay. Not too harsh. So this is kind of slow. Let's speed them up a little bit here. There we go. The notes aren't in any kind of key. They're just all over the darn place. But if I take his output, plug it into the quantizer will force the CV to only play one of these notes. So it's not exactly music per se, but I think you can hear how it fits into a scale now. What you basically got here is the cat on the keyboard syndrome, except the cat is smart enough to avoid the black keys. Okay. So that's one type of CV, and we're currently running it in here. Let's turn it back to 0 again. Turn it down a little bit. Now I'm going to take another key quantizer. Oh, first of all, I'm going to make these notes go away. So now we have C, D, E, G, A, the so-called pentatonic scale. And I'm going to take another key quantizer. And just so we'll know what we're listening to, where did that guy go? Oh, here it is. I'm going to set this guy to the C minor scale. Okay. And while his source is a sequencer, it doesn't really sound like a sequencer now because we're running such a weird clock into it. So let me do it that way. Take that out. Put this in. And it says, I think it says gate clock, which means every time he plays a note, he should trigger the envelope. Okay, great. Okay, so that sounds like major key music to me. And it's a repeating pattern. We can all hear that, right? Good, good, good. Goodly, good, good, good. So let's take a different CV source now. I'm going to take a control signal mixer. I'm going to make two of them. And I'm going to make some more weirdness. Just bear with me on the sequence for now. I'm doing this kind of randomly. Oh, I don't want a square wave. I want a better wave than that. Yeah, selectable wave. So what I've done is I've taken two random and one slightly less random CV sources. I plugged them into this mixer structure, and I've mixed them up so they're all, you know, crazy. Now I'm going to restrict the range of this to 32 again, 2 octaves, just like this guy. Most of what he's playing is stuck in 1 octave anyway, probably because of his source material. And again, this is in a minor key. So instead of the positive, happy vibes we're getting here, we should be able to listen to the sadly vibes of this guy. Now, we haven't used the switches yet, but we got 2 inputs here. So we're listening to input 1, turn it down to 0, and we get all 1 note. And now back to this guy. Whoa. So the result of all this random CV is sort of sliding up and down the scale. I think it's being pretty dominated by LFO A1. Just going to turn him off for now. I'm going to also slow these guys down a bit. Oh, I need him for his other job, so I don't want to slow him down too much. Wow, it's not really changing the notes as much at all now. Oh, there we go. Okay. Well, what I will say about the second sequence is it certainly sure as heck is different from the first one, which we'll go back to and listen to again. right? All I wanted to do was to establish two very different CV sequences or note type sequences. It's harder to hear that this one is also in a musical key, but I guess you'll have to trust me. And now that I've made them, instead of mixing them with knobs in here, I want to use the switch section of the synth to change between them. So absolutely one way I can do that is by plugging them in here. And yes, I'm ignoring the fact that these are set up for as red knobs for audio, but it doesn't matter. We can send it CV and it'll be just fine. Okay. So as you can see now, you're hearing channel 1, which is this guy, the quote-unquote normal sounding guy. If I hit this, you get the much weirder weird guy who is going all over the map. If I go back again, I get that guy again. So this is, as simple as this looks here, this is what I was kind of trying to do. There are many, think about it this way. You could have 4 musical sequences here and have a switch 1 to 4 here and play a song and then switch between your verse and your chorus melody lines using that switch. In fact, if I made, this is getting almost super annoying. Nothing almost about it. Let's just do that, what I just said. I'm going to do it by copying. I'm not going to make 4, I'm going to make 3 because I just ran out of space. They're all keyed into the same quantization. We're on channel 1 here. So get used to that pattern. I'm going to hook number 2 up here. And I'm going to hook number 3 up here. And then I'm just going to hit the random knob. Boom. And hit it again. Shaka Khan. So now, when I switch, we'll get 3 melodies. Frank do something wrong? Why not? Oh. Frank's stupid. Frank forget connect clock. There we go. There's melody 2. There's number 1 again. I almost want to bear with me here. Just because I can. Who's gonna stop me? Somebody stop me. There's a kick and a snare. And I just saw that I already had a sequencer running. So why not? There's the triggers. Okay. Now we're rocking. Now we're really rocking. Now we're really rocking. Oh yeah. Now it's time to switch up the melody. Switch it up with the switch. So now we're hearing number 2 here. And how about number 3? That's 3. Back to 1. Cool, right? Back to 2. And 3. And 1. And 1. So the switch is, again, allowing those 3 different 16-step patterns to get through and control the pitch of the oscillator. I think we've hit proof of concept here. The one main issue being the Nord Micro Modular doesn't have a switch to allow you to pan between these settings here. So we might want to try one of the other guys and see if we could use a knob to dial between 2 settings. Let's leave number 3 out of it for now. Dial number 2 into here, and 1 into here, and put him into the pitch input number 1. Here it is. Oh. Well, the knob is now in the middle. So what you get is a mixture of the 2 signals. Unfortunately, that mixture is crap. But if you go all the way left, and if you go all the way right, you get your 2 melodies. And you say, oh, but Father Moo, I don't want to dial between them because it'll be all wacky in the middle. How can we make it so it's all either one or all the other, Father Moo? How can we do that? Well, allow me to do that for you. I'm going to set an LFO to a square wave, which, as I said, is in an older lesson was, this is either 1 or 0. It's on or off. It's a binary signal. Then I'm going to patch that into the crossfader and crank the crossfader to max. So watch this green light. Wait for him to change. And now he's on, which means we're on melody 2. When he turns off again, we'll be back to melody 1. There we go. There's melody 1 again. And this will be back to 2 again. See what I mean? This guy is either all the way left or all the way right. That's all he can be, because a square wave is always 100% or 0%. So by using this little binary switch, I can, it's still at sort of random intervals, but I can switch between the 2 different settings. In fact, if you said to me, okay, well, I want to do it timed, sure, just plug the rate of the LFO. Let's try here. Watch the ons and offs here. Still hasn't changed yet. What if I turn this up a bit? No. Maybe I sent it too fast or too slow a time for its own good. But now it's definitely back to switching again, see? So yeah, I joked with my buddy and said, whenever I use one of the Logic modules in the Nord, I feel like Charles Babbage, who was a famous computer pioneer, because this AND or XOR, the logic processor, is the basis of so many computer chips. For example, my job is working for a company that makes NAND flash, which is what you use for an SSD or a USB stick. Well, the NAND in NAND flash is N plus AND, or it's AND times -1, or whatever you want to think of it. It's the opposite of AND. And that's what NAND flash is based on. What so many parts of computing are based on, simple binary circuits like the one we just built here. So yeah, I mean, a modular is definitely a kind of computer. It just doesn't output printed content, it outputs audio content. It's an audio computer. And if you have a hardware one, it could be an analog hardware computer. Something you don't see a lot these days. In this case, we're computing which of two sequences to use, and we're assigning that to what's basically like a random number generator between 0 and 1. It's either one or the other, but when it changes from one to the other is, well, once every 7.28 seconds, according to the rate here. So yeah, I like it with a bit of drums in it as well too. So, time to save. This one is probably going to be called Melody Switch, because that's what he does. Saving there at 33. We're a third of the way through. There's only 99 memories in the micro modular. We have 33 from streams and 2 from the community. So community members, get me some more patches and I'll get you in there while we can. Of course, we're just going to back it all up and go back to the beginning again once we have a full batch of 99, because I ain't stopping this anytime soon. Thank you so much for joining us. These guys didn't get a chance to really shine, but X-Fade here is doing what I wanted him to do, so why keep going when you got it right? Yeah. Peace to all. Thank you. Much love. Father Moo, Sunday, church, pray, modular. These are the words we need to remember. Go with God. Peace.